Afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. And welcome to the Girl Get Up podcast. I am your host, the Aquarian Chancellor, and this is the podcast where I share my stories. I bring my guests on, they share their stories, all in hopes and inspires you, the listening audience, to go out and discover your infinite possibilities. Today, I have a guest. Her name is Miss Kacey Becker. Kacey, please share with the audience who you are and what you do.
So I am a former Marine and I am a mother of two. And I wrote this children's book to help prevent the bullying of children who have special needs.
Let's get into it. You wrote a book teaching your community about children with special needs. Could you share about your upbringing? What experiences did you have in your upbringing that prepared you for advocacy?
So two parts. So my father, growing up, he volunteered to help children who have special needs. There was a horse ranch not too far from where I lived where they would help children who have special needs kind of interact with the horses and ride the horses, and they always needed volunteers to kind of help guide the horses and help children up. And it was a beautiful thing. And at such a young age, I'd say somewhere around like 7, I watched this and I knew it was good. So when the opportunity kind of showed up for me as a child to volunteer, I started doing it myself. That's actually its whole story in itself. If you want me to share that with you, I totally can. So this is the book where it stemmed from. So the elementary school that I went to, about 10 blocks away, somewhere in that range, was a whole school dedicated to children who have developmental disabilities. And before inclusion was a thing, I'm not sure. Are you familiar with what inclusion is?
The integration of the children with the, like public schools, all kids can go, and then you have children with IEPs and special needs that are able
Yeah,
to the classroom with all their peers, pretty much.
absolutely. And they did a ton of research leading into integration and inclusion, excuse me, both. They're interchangeable. Um, they just shown the research shows that children who have those developmental delays, disabilities, they end up to become better, well-rounded adults because they had the ability to socialize with their peers. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But, in the 90s, it wasn't the case. Even prior to that, it just wasn't the case. So to have a whole school dedicated to children who have special needs was just phenomenal, like ahead of its time, in my opinion. So we had our elementary school, public elementary school. Down the road, we had this whole school dedicated to children who had special needs. I believe they could go up to the age of 19, and then they could graduate. So what they used to do is they used to bus the older kids over to the elementary school and help out some of the adults. So the cafeteria staff, they'd help serve food or maintenance, do some repairs, cleanup crew, whatever it was, just building some life skills so that when they do graduate, they have some job skills to be able to go out in the working world, which is totally awesome. Again, ahead of its time. And I remember sitting there with my classmates, and there was a boy cleaning a table in front of us. And I say a boy, he was probably 17, 18 at the time. And he was cleaning the tables, and my classmates were making fun of him. And I had never witnessed true bullying before, right? Like I had my brothers who were relentlessly, mean to me because little sister. But
Right.
I don't think I ever truly witnessed bullying. And so I didn't really know what I was looking at. I just knew it didn't feel right, like looking at that. So, not too long after that, they created a volunteer program where the kids from my school, the elementary school, could then go over to the school. It's called Nina Harris. To go over to Nina Harris to help uh, volunteer with the teachers and interact with children who have special needs. So, raise my hand, right? I was like, my dad is going to be so proud of me. This is something that he did. I thought personally, like watching my dad do this is what grown-ups do, right? It's no different than, you watch an exchange of two adults talking. You're like, oh, this is the way grown-ups talk. I just thought it was something all grown-ups did. They went and helped.
Mhm.
So I was probably one of three kids that ended up going on this thing. And by the second time I went, I was the only kid on this bus. I was like nine, maybe. And I ended up volunteering with this woman named Kim Ralston. And it was such an experience. Like if anything, I wish kids could experience that more, but now with inclusion, they could really see that and kind of build a little bit more understanding towards, children who have special needs, children who are truly different in the way that they think. Doesn't
Mhm.
make it bad by any means, but like I got to experience that firsthand working with all these children who were just so unique. And my favorite part, I think, what stuck in my brain is that one day I was leaving her classroom and I saw that boy, the one that the kids were making fun of. So I asked, my teacher, Kim, I was like, who is that? And she said, oh, that's Ed. Ed is about to graduate. He's 100% deaf and 100% blind.
Oh,
And there
wow.
he was at the school cleaning tables, building job skills, and it was this overwhelming sense of guilt. Like I should have stood up for him. Like, and again, I didn't know any better. So that kind of stuck with me my whole life. It really did. And when this idea kind of came into my mind, I was texting with my husband. I was like, man, I'm thinking about Ed. Like I'm really thinking about, and he says, well, maybe you should do something about it. And that's where this idea came from, is why not educate children while they're young, while they're still learning? Because, we're growing as people. You don't know any better until you're taught better. And
Mhm.
why not educate them about special needs, help perceive special needs as not something to be taunted or mimicked or, like these kids were doing when I was younger, but rather perceive it as superpowers. And that's kind of where the idea came from.
I love that. You turn something that is perceived as a disability and you make it a superpower. I love that.
Mhm.
What specific challenges do you think special needs students face with bullying that's a little bit different from what typical bullying may look like? Attention, small business owners and creatives. Are you looking for the perfect audience to share your brand story with? Well, the Girl Get Up podcast reaches ambitious professionals across key markets filled with decision makers in government, tech, and business, such as DC and Texas. But here's what makes this opportunity special. Our listeners span 33 countries across 6 continents. That means your brand has both national impact and global exposure. Whether you're offering productivity tools, online courses, women's empowerment products, or services that support career growth or entrepreneurship, this audience is for you. The Girl Get Up audience are filled with action takers who invest in their development and support brands that aligns with their values. And we're growing organically every week. The Girl Get Up podcast has loyal listeners and a community of dreamers and doers who are ready to discover brands like yours. Are you ready to connect with an audience that's already listening? Or visit my stand store or send me a message to explore sponsorship packages designed specifically for small businesses and creatives. The Girl Get Up podcast is the podcast where your brand meets your people. Now let's get into the episode for today.
My heart goes back to the ability to stand up for yourself. Like more often than not. And this is still going on today. My cousin, for example, her son, who is autistic, he's autistic, and he has, you know, social anxieties as a part of his IEP, all his different things that he has to overcome. And the kids will circle him on the PE court and taunt him, mimic him, and get him to the point where he'll start crying,
Mm-hmm.
and make him so frustrated because they know he does not possess the ability to stand up for himself. And it's still happening, you know what I mean? And I feel like if those kids just maybe perceived him a little bit differently, they wouldn't feel that way. Or there'd be a kid willing to step in and say, hey, this is not okay, and stand up for him when he might not be able to do it for himself.
Yeah. One thing that when you said that, the ability to stand up for himself, I also thought about the ability to vocalize.
Yeah. And you know what? A part of me is like, well, the adults should have taught their children not to do that, not to be little buttheads. But again, not everyone has had exposure to children or adults who have special needs. So if you're not around it, if you know you don't really see it, then it's kind of hard for you to teach about it. So my book, right, I brought a copy of it, and actually has talking points at the very back of it. It's these discussion questions. So as adults, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, a grandparent, you can read through this book and then sit there and have this engaging conversation with a child and really help like sink it into the brain and explain it in a way you want to explain it. And I think that's really important, especially because every child learns different. If a child's into something, you know, I don't know, cars or transformers, you know, something unique, and then you could maybe turn those discussion questions into something that the child can relate to, you know, something they're interested in, then, you know, perhaps it'll help them understand it a little bit better.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue into the book. Before I want to give you the opportunity to talk about, my question was going to be to you is how did you decide that a children's book was the correct path to address the bullying issue of youth with special needs? We see a lot of parents who might go to schools or go the route of trying to change legislation. So how did you decide that I'm going to go the route of becoming an author and sharing stories? And while you're doing that, could you share the title of your book?
Sure. So this is I See Superheroes Everywhere. It's available on Amazon. So I decided on a children's book because, you know, adults, I wouldn't say that we're more reluctant to change. We're more reluctant to grow as human beings. But as a child, you're constantly changing. You're constantly growing. You're becoming who you are. You know, you're and hate and love. You know, hate is taught. Love you're born with. And until you're taught to be different, to be angry, to be, you know, you just love. And I just feel like this book is an opportunity to teach love to a child who understands love. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like nip it in the bud, you know, start really young so that they can grow up as good adults. And
Yeah.
even as an adult, like when you have kids, like they're constantly teaching you these things, right? Like you're growing as a person with your kids, and you're learning new things, and how to be more patient, how to be more compassionate, how to be, you know, all those things. So if your child comes to you one day and it's like, hey, my best friend is deaf and I want to learn how to do sign language, you as a person are like, wow, like that's amazing. And in your head you're like, wow, you're teaching me something too. Like how amazing would that be to just know that your child wants to empathize with another child who is deaf or is blind or is autistic or has Down syndrome. I mean, there's just so many different things that a child is exposed to now, and then it can help, I don't know, just build a more compassionate generation. Like that's how I see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it extends far past that because for me, you never know 10, 15 years down the line who's going to pick up that book on Amazon. Who's going to pick
Yeah.
up that book at a book club that you might do at your local school. But legislation changes, rules and policies, all of those change. So for something to be a legacy, leaving a legacy behind, Thank
And
you, Kate.
I will say, thank you for thanking me. I also worked with a teacher who has over 25 years of experience to build a
Mm,
lesson plan. Like that's the ultimate goal of this book. I want this book in every classroom in every language around the world because this doesn't just affect, kids in Florida, kids in Wyoming. Like this affects everyone in every community of every ethnicity, every religion. Like everyone has interaction with people who have special needs. And I just feel like it's relatable. It's happening now and this is the perfect time for it. What it used to be compared to what it is now is night and day. Night and day.
I did the same thing with my workbook because my workbook is more career focused for youth ages 16 to 25. And I
Mhm.
actually worked with two educators. It takes an extreme amount of work to put something like that together and a level of bravery. I like to think of ourselves the route that you and I have taken as alternative education, so to speak.
Mhm.
But yes,
You know what? I'm going to call it revolutionary thinking. Trying to pave a path towards better better futures for our children, better futures for young adults, whatever that entails. Like, let's be revolutionary. I seriously hope that even if this book helps one kid become friends with another kid with special needs, goal achieved.
yeah.
Like that's life saving in my opinion. My dad's best friend that I didn't even know about until probably like a year ago had Down syndrome growing up. I never knew that. And when I found out about it, my heart just felt so like I felt like I could cry. I'm like, wow, because could you imagine what it was like for his name was Bobby, what it was like for Bobby, and that's because this was 70s,
Mm,
what it was like for him. Your life expectancy is a lot lower, people expected less of you, and here's this kid in your neighborhood that's like, let's play together. Like how much that had an impact on his life and how much more enriching it was for him. People helping people, there's always that mindset, people helping people. And I love knowing that. It just makes me love my dad even more, to be honest.
wow, so special. Okay, I wanted to ask you though, how do you think that serving our country, because like when you first introduced yourself, you said you were a former Marine. So how do you feel, or how do you think that being in the Marines and serving your country have given you those leadership skills to want to take this project on and change our communities?
So you come across so many different personalities in the military, right? Like when you grow up, you're around the same community all the time. Everybody thinks the same, everybody interacts with the same people, same places, and then all of a sudden you walk into a place from people from everywhere. I went to boot camp plus the pre-boot camp. She was from Iraq. Like she was, and her life experiences were so interesting. And there she was. Like her mom kept her very sheltered. Her name is Ali. Her last name is her last name is Ali, but she was sheltered a lot when she was a child. She never learned how to ride a bike. She never learned how to run. She didn't know how to run. Like, and here she was volunteering herself to join the military to go back Middle East and fight, for something that she believed in. And it was so empowering to meet somebody else like that. And again, like I would have never probably met her unless there was some foreign exchange program there at my high school and I think it's interesting because the people you meet in the military can truly help shape you into either a better person if you
Mhm.
choose to, or they can shape you into a not so nice person. And I think that, just depending on the personality type, like it can really help guide you into making bigger impacts. because you can say, hey, you know what, I've been like, I went to Afghanistan, right? So like I've been to Afghanistan, I've seen the way, these other people live their lives, and it's like, man, I'm so grateful for what I have. I'm so grateful for the things that I get to earn and do, even as a woman. Like, I get to do all those things in the country that I live in, and I have an opportunity to write a book and help, other people around this country do those things. And it's not really smiled upon. It doesn't really happen over there. And to have that firsthand experience, to see those things, that's truly empowering. It really is.
Yeah. So the story that I was telling you before we turned the camera on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the person who helped me out of that situation, he was former military. And I was so frustrated, with everything that was going on. He said, "You don't quit at the finish line." Changed my whole perspective.
It helped
It,
empower him in a good way.
right, right. It changed my whole perspective instantly. But it was those principles that he was able to, and the situation was so, minute. You don't think of the words that you can say to somebody that'll just shift them in that moment.
I
And so, yeah,
agree.
so that's what made me ask you that question.
It's true. And I think given any circumstance in any situation, you have the power, right? Like we all have the ability to make choices. Um, I think you have the power to either become a better person or not. And
Yeah.
the military, it truly challenges you to that choice, right? Like you can let it eat you up, you can let it bring you down, you can let it, because what you're facing is a ton of different personalities placed into a very stressful situation, and you can let that bring you down. And unfortunately, a lot of, I mean, I don't want to get into some of the statistics, but it can wear in a lot of people, or it can make you a stronger person. And I mean, you listen to like podcasts of people who have really seen some terrible things, and here they are with such a positive mindset. And you know I think as a person, not that I'm trying to recruit, but I think as a person, if you want to challenge yourself to change, military is definitely the way to go.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Thank you for sharing that. What's your vision for how communities can better support youth with special needs?
Hands down, like being friends with someone with special needs, 100%. Volunteering at communities who work with adults or children with special needs, definitely. Like there's such a shortage of that compassion, because it takes a lot of patience and compassion to work with someone who might not be able to feed themselves, who might need assistance walking. Like there's a lot of different things, a lot challenges. Yeah, there's a lot of different challenges that come with each unique person who has special needs. And there's just no better way to build such a soft heart, to step up and truly give your time to someone who, is just trying to live their life.
Yeah. Yeah. And how can your book help with providing that support? And we kind of talked about that because you have a whole curriculum. Go ahead, girl. You can say it again.
Well, so the discussion questions for sure, but on my website, the My Heart, like my heart, I call my children and my husband my heart. So that's where that came from.
Okay.
So myheart-publishing.com. There is additional discussion questions as well as like a coloring page. So if a teacher teaches it in the classroom and a parent wants to continue that discussion, they can go on the website, they can snag the coloring page and interact with their child beyond the classroom, so that again it really sinks in and there's true comprehension of the concepts taught in the book.
Some of those questions, if you don't mind, maybe two or three that can help, discussion questions that can help give us an
Sure.
idea of what to expect.
So first question would be, what are special needs?
Mm,
And I think that comes back to relating to what the child's interests are. So
okay.
when I was saying like cars or transformers earlier, like maybe as a parent or a guardian, doesn't matter, teacher, to be able to relate to the children, to say, oh, special needs are XYZ, kind of like I don't know the name of Transformers. Don't judge. They're like, oh, Optimus Prime. Okay, I got this.
So let me ask you this. Do you find that children with special needs, they may not feel different from other kids?
I really think that depends on how they're treated, right?
Okay.
So it can be frustrating because you meet a lot of young adults or even older adults. Like my uncle didn't get diagnosed with Asperger's until maybe 5 years ago, and he's 60 something now.
Mhm.
Like to be treated different your whole life and then to find out as an adult, well, I think differently than everyone else. I think that can create, like in your mind, it creates some sense of frustration. It's like, man, if only I had known this about myself, then I could have learned in a different way. And then maybe I could have been able to relate more to my peers, or I could have, you know, had a situation where I knew to avoid this because it's not that not every child who has special needs, it doesn't stand out necessarily. And I
Right.
think that, visibly it might not be apparent to kids who are not neurodivergent. Like, so I guess I don't know if as an individual, a child who has special needs feels differently. And it's such a helpless feeling. And then that's what I would call it.
Where can we find your book, I See Superheroes Everywhere?
It is on Amazon, nice and easy, shipped to your door.
Okay. So we're going to include all the links in the show notes. Before I let you go, this is a platform of inspiring people to believe in their infinite possibilities. And as an author with a social cause, please share with the audience your motivational message.
Motivational message. Man, maybe what a difference you could make in the life of a human being by just being nice.
Mm,
I like it. That was on the spot.
I love it. Share with the audience, before I let you go, too, where they can find you, more about Kacey.
Definitely the website, the myheart-publishing.com.
Okay.
Also on Facebook at myheart publishing LLC, and then Instagram at myheart publishing as well. Um, that's the social media platforms I'm on right now. I'm not sure how to navigate the other ones quite yet. I'm learning. A little behind with the time.
Yeah, that's okay.
But
Hey,
yeah,
do you have any initiatives coming up? Are you going to be doing any speaking engagements? Are you coming out with another book? Or you have anything else that you would like to promote?
I will promote that there will be two follow-up books to this, make it a full circle here. So the next book has been written, it's been drawn up. I need to paint it, and then I need to actually get it, out there again. Just with moving and everything, my time has been eaten up tremendously, but I'm really hoping that by next year I can get that second book out there. And that book is going to focus on how to be friends with someone who has special needs.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's really. And then third book, I haven't decided on how I want to introduce it, but the basis is going to be somewhere around of how not to be a bully.
I love it.
Yeah, so full circle here, perceiving children who have special needs as superheroes, how to be friends with someone who has special needs, and how not to be a bully. Like truly let it, bring home or come on home. I forget the expression. Bring it on
Bring it.
home. Can't think.
So with that, thank you, Kacey. I really appreciate you being on the Girl Get Up podcast. You hold on. I'm gonna leave you send you off the right way. But for the audience, we will see them next episode. Take care, everyone.